Hello and welcome back to The Dark Silent. We are a community that stares into the abyss, exploring the darkest and most compelling mysteries of history. We look for the stories that have been lost to time, the questions that have never been answered, and the chilling tales that remind us of the fragility of truth. Today, we delve into a case that is more than just a crime. It's a piece of dark American folklore, a Hollywood nightmare that has haunted the city of Los Angeles for nearly 80 years. This is the story of the Black Dahlia. January 15, 1947, Limert Park, Los Angeles. A woman named Betty Bersinger is walking with her 3-year-old daughter. It's a cold, crisp morning in a quiet residential neighborhood. As they pass a vacant lot, something catches Betty's eye. Lying in the overgrown grass is what she initially thinks is a discarded department store mannequin, broken in two at the waist. But as she steps closer, a wave of cold dread washes over her. This is no mannequin. This is the body of a woman. But it's unlike any crime scene imaginable. The corpse has been surgically bisected at the waist, drained of every last drop of blood, and scrubbed clean. Her face is carved into a grotesque permanent smile, a Glasgow smile stretching from ear to ear. Her body has been deliberately, almost artistically posed. In that moment, Betty Bersinger had stumbled upon not just a murder victim, but the centerpiece of a macabre puzzle that would captivate and terrify a nation. The question wasn't just who did this, but what kind of monster was capable of such a thing. The victim was quickly identified as 22-year-old Elizabeth Short. To understand the tragedy, we first have to understand the woman. Elizabeth wasn't a native of the glamorous world she so desperately wanted to join. Born in Boston, Massachusetts, she was a young woman with a troubled past, chasing a glimmer of hope. She dreamed of becoming a movie star, a common ambition for thousands who flocked to California after the war. She was striking, with pale blue eyes and a cascade of dark black hair, which she often wore up with a flower. She had a penchant for black clothing, a detail that, combined with the recent film The Blue Dahlia, would lead a newspaper reporter to posthumously give her the haunting moniker that would make her immortal, the Black Dahlia. In the weeks leading up to her death, Elizabeth Short was a ghost, drifting through the margins of Hollywood society. She was a transient, moving between cheap hotels, apartments, and the homes of acquaintances. She was often seen but never truly known. The last confirmed sighting of her alive was on January 9, 1947, 6 days before her body was found. A salesman named Robert "Red" Manley dropped her off at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She was supposed to meet her sister, she said. But her sister wasn't in town. After that moment, Elizabeth Short vanished. For 6 days, she was missing from the world. What happened in those 6 lost days is the dark heart of this mystery. She wasn't killed where she was found. There was no blood at the scene. She was taken somewhere, held captive, and subjected to unimaginable torture before her life was extinguished. The discovery of her body ignited a media firestorm unlike any other. Los Angeles newspapers, led by the sensationalist empire of William Randolph Hearst, threw themselves into the case with a morbid frenzy. They painted Elizabeth as a promiscuous, mysterious seductress, a femme fatale who flew too close to the sun. They published rumors as facts, embellished her life story, and created a caricature that often overshadowed the real victim. The press was so aggressive that they even compromised the investigation, withholding information from the police to get a scoop and even directly contacting potential suspects themselves. It was a circus of speculation and exploitation, with a brutalized young woman at its center. Then the case took an even more sinister turn. On January 24th, about a week after the body was found, the editor of the Los Angeles Examiner received a phone call. The man on the other end claimed to be the killer. To prove it, he said he would be mailing some of Elizabeth's belongings to the paper. The next day, a package arrived. It was a manila envelope, carefully assembled with letters cut from movie ads, addressed to the Los Angeles Examiner and other Los Angeles papers. Inside was a collection of Elizabeth Short's personal effects, her birth certificate, social security card, photographs, and an address book with the name Mark Hansen on the cover. The entire package had been wiped clean with gasoline to remove any fingerprints. This was no ordinary killer. This was a taunter, a phantom who was intelligent, careful, and enjoyed the game. He had communicated with the world, but left no trace of himself. The address book led police to Mark Hansen, a nightclub owner who Elizabeth had briefly lived with. He became a prime suspect, but nothing could ever be definitively proven. The taunts continued. A series of bizarre, rambling letters, also composed of cut and pasted words, were sent to the press. One read, "Here it is. Turning in Wedmaris Jan, 29:10 a.m. Had my fun at police, Black Dahlia Avenger." But no one ever turned themselves in. It was another cruel trick, another move in the killer's terrifying game. The investigation became a desperate, sprawling manhunt. The LAPD interviewed over 150 suspects. Dozens of people, mostly men seeking a twisted form of fame, falsely confessed to the murder, sending the police on countless wild goose chases. The list of potential culprits grew, becoming a gallery of shadowy figures, each with a plausible connection, but no concrete evidence. There was Red Manley, the last man to see her alive, who passed multiple lie detector tests. There were doctors and medical students, suspected because of the surgical precision used in the dismemberment. There were jilted lovers and Hollywood power brokers. The investigation was a confusing labyrinth of leads, lies, and dead ends. As the years turned into decades, the case file grew thicker, but the truth remained buried. However, one suspect has emerged from the fog of history as the most compelling and most terrifying possibility: Dr. George Hodel. Hodel was a brilliant physician with a dark side, a man who moved in sophisticated circles, but was also known for his decadent parties and connections to the surrealist art scene. In 1949, his own daughter, Tamar, accused him of incest. During that investigation, the police bugged his home. What they heard was chilling. On the recordings, Hodel could be heard discussing paying off police and performing illegal abortions. But most damningly, he was recorded saying, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they can't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary because she's dead." The connection was astounding. Hodel had surgical training. He owned a property just a few blocks from the Biltmore Hotel, where Elizabeth was last seen. After his home was bugged, Hodel abruptly left the country and lived in Asia for decades. His son, Steve Hodel, a former LAPD homicide detective, would later conduct his own investigation, publishing books that laid out a mountain of circumstantial evidence pointing to his father as the killer. He discovered photos of a woman who looked strikingly like Elizabeth Short among his father's belongings, and found that his father's handwriting bore a resemblance to the notes sent by the Black Dahlia Avenger. Despite this, George Hodel was never officially charged, and he died in 1999, taking any secrets he had to the grave. The murder of Elizabeth Short remains officially unsolved. The case is a perfect storm of tragedy, a young woman's stolen dream, a level of brutality that shocks the conscience, a compromised police investigation, and a media that cared more for headlines than for truth. The Black Dahlia has become a legend, a cautionary tale about the darkness that can fester beneath the glittering facade of Hollywood. But we must never forget that behind the myth, behind the spooky nickname and the sensational stories, was a real person. A 22-year-old woman named Elizabeth Short, who came to Los Angeles with hope in her heart, only to meet a truly monstrous end. Her killer was never brought to justice. They were a phantom who committed an unforgettable crime and then vanished, leaving behind only a bisected body, a chilling nickname, and a question that, nearly a century later, still has no answer. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's most chilling cold cases. The story of the Black Dahlia is complex and full of theories. What do you think? Was it Dr. George Hodel, or does the truth lie with one of the dozens of other suspects? Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. If you find these historical mysteries as compelling as I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel for more stories from the shadows. Stay curious and stay safe.